All-Stars is going to be in Paris this year.
Bonjour, Paris.
The All-Star event, this is pretty much like every region coming together.
I love competing against the best players. I don't care where they're from.
So going to Paris would be like, whoa, like I'm in like this alien place. All-Stars would be the perfect place to prove how good I am.
Pick me.
Pick me!
Vote for me.
Last year's All-Stars was epic. I need to be a part of that.
I need your help to get there.
We need your votes.
Vote today at lolesports.com.
So make sure your favorites are represented.
I want to go to showcase one of NA's best.
It'd be a really big honor to go, and I'd be so excited and I'd be so down.
I was born and raised here. I want to represent.
I really want to go to Paris, dude. That'd be sick.
Welcome back to the final day of the North American LCS. Up next, we've got Evil Geniuses versus Team Curse. And for EG, a win here could give them some breathing room in their hunt for 7th place.
Yeah, if they were to take this match, it would mean they could still lose to XGG and then tie in the standings, giving them another chance. So this is still important, even though the game later in the day is even more so.
Right, but right now, that's easier said than done. And Evil Geniuses are coming into this game now with an 8-game losing streak.
It's been really tough for EG. At the start of the year, Evil Genius' strength was really their strategic play, and if they got a small lead in the early game, they would close it out. But now, even their strategic play has been faltering. They really don't have anything going for them, and they need a complete turnaround.
Right, and we have to remember with Dig's loss in our last game, Curse can secure 4th seed with a win here.
Yeah, and Curse has been looking stronger in the past few weeks, even taking down 3rd place CLG yesterday. Quas, in particular, has really been stepping it up. He's been making a huge impact for his team, especially with his Renekton. He has a marked improvement on that champion since the start of the season, where he wasn't as good at it.
And let's check out the starting lineups as we get right into this game. On the blue side, it's Evil Geniuses. In the top lane is Innox, Snoopeh in the jungle, Pobelter in mid, Yellowpete at 80 carry, and Krepo giving a good chuckle on support.
And on the red side, it is Curse. Quas on the top lane, IWillDominate in the jungle, Voyboy in mid, Kapler on 80 carry, and Bunny FuFuu and maybe Thresh on support.
So what can EG do to kind of get things going in this game? Kind of just off the bat. We know Pobelter can be a factor there, but what if it's in the side lanes? What if it has to do something with the jungle?
Exactly. Well, early on in the year, they had success with some fringe picks. The Urgot Sirach in the bottom lane was very strong. You know, Pobelter also, I feel like, was playing better in the start of the season. As far as getting going in this one, try something strategic. Their invades, when people weren't invading, were very strong. And they should try to get back to that. I mean, just looking at the way CLG won last game, even though CLG has great individual players, they won that game as a team with rotations.
Yeah.
EG, if they could pull off something like that, not that it's easy or anything, it would be one of their best chances.
Always easier said than done, as we just stated. And we'll see how they put things into action now that they're into picks and bans. A lot comes out of this. EG would definitely benefit a lot out of getting priority picks here. Every team does, but it would make the lanes that much more comfortable for them, and it's necessary.
It's always important to take the opponent out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
Innox likes playing a diverse set of top laners, and Renekton is kind of the man who hates diversity in the top lane. He shuts out a lot of options up there, so getting that ban out of the way means Innox's pool opens up much wider.
Dominate also has been playing quite a bit of Elise, which relieves pressure off really having to find something to play in the jungle. He's happy to go back to that. A lot of junglers have kind of gone away, trying to get more on Kazakhs, who just got banned out. A lot of Lee Sin play, like we said, being a first pick around these parts.
These parts. Gets banned away, though, because Innox is definitely his best champion in the top lane. Thresh banned away for Bunny FuFuu. It's interesting because Krepo's Thresh is really good, but EG doesn't want to be forced into first picking it. Therefore, they have to ban it. Oh boy, getting Lulu is huge.
That's going to be nice for Pobelter.
This is the unnerfed Lulu.
Yeah.
It's been nerfed heavily on the 4.5 patch, but this 4.4 patch is a very strong beast. You can see a 70% win rate in the North American LCS for Lulu.
The lock-in, not really even thinking about it too long. They got the Nidalee and the Elise.
Yeah. The Elise is one of IWillDominate's favorites, although I haven't seen too much success from Elise since the nerfs. She still provides a lot of utility, but it definitely hasn't been as overpowering as it was before.
Yep.
Nidalee, on the other hand, seems just as good as ever, and I actually think it's one of the better picks against Lulu, because while Lulu can shield a lot, Nidalee never has to commit. and it's very hard to reactively shield a Nidalee spear. Therefore, Nid can get a lot of damage off in the face of Lulu.
We saw Link using it to great effect last game. Now in the hands of Voyboy as we match up in our second game here on the last day of Super Week. Could be a Lucian and Leona lock in. Krepo, very well known for his Leona. And Yellowpete, he's kind of been going back and forth to a lot of AD carries this season. Hasn't really picked one to be his kind of main go-to. Caitlyn's been up there. His Varus has actually been played quite well.
Yeah.
Really hasn't gone back to that yet. Only here and there.
It's been an off year for the whole team, to be fair.
Yeah.
But Yellowpete in particular has not shined. It all started when Snoopeh stole his panic kill. That's when the downhill started. He reached his high moment. He was going to have the only pench in the NA LCS.
Love from the crowd. They want to see the little guy. Looks like could be the Morgan Caitlyn pick. More safety here. Obviously the poke comp from Curse. It's a game where they can work the strategy once again, and like you said, not have to commit.
Yeah, and the Morgana in the poke composition is actually a very important tool for them. It will stop long-range Leona initiations from isolating priority targets, as long as Bunny FuFuu's black shields are completely on point. I expected actually more teams to be picking Morgana in poke compositions because of that fact.
It's kind of like a early way to help people out of Solar Flare real fast until you can get your Mikhail's Crucible, then you're good to go. The lock-ins are that safe Morgana Caitlyn lane against Lucian and Leona. I don't think we'll see too much 2v1 swapping in this one, but we will find out very fast in the early part of the game. Could be a Pantheon for Snoopeh. Because Pantheons were not too bad. The ganks were actually quite good. It's just the team following up after that was always a little lackluster.
Yeah. Pantheon ultimates actually haven't been that on point in the LCS. Teams have been very good at avoiding it.
Once you get used to it.
Yeah. If they could dump enough damage down, they'll be able to bypass some of that black shield, but it's still gonna stop the stuns coming through.
Wow.
Top lane Ryze, perhaps?
So this is different. They're kind of looking at a full poke composition, but they haven't given themselves too much to get in and engage on that composition.
Yeah, they do have hard engage, but how do they get past the black shield is going to be the real question. EG will have to work around and initiate onto multiple targets so that they can at least lock down one. It actually makes the initiation fairly difficult. But as far as actually having engaging opportunities and engaging skills, the move speed provided by Lulu, Rune Prison, Pantheon in general, Leona in general, are all very good at locking people down. So it's not like they can't initiate. It's just going to be very difficult.
It's like Curse, that last pickup for Voyboy in the mid lane. Actually, that's going to his Nidalee, so Quas in the top lane is saved out on this one.
Could be.
Could be.
Could be a top lane. Yeah, Trundle for Quas. Split pusher and also poke supporter. Very similar, actually, to the CLG competition we just saw. With Nidalee plus Trundle as far as the solo lanes go. Caitlyn would be your replacement for the Lucian. Some people would actually argue that it's better in a poke composition to have Caitlyn. All right, then. Poke comp.
Poke comp indeed locked in. It's what people are kind of favoring now as we get into this game where you get that surge of money and then everything needs to slow down anyways.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of poke in the North American LCS. League of Legends has been trending towards that actually for quite a while. Just the longer range initiations to bypass people's ability to kind of counteract what you're doing to them. If you're always dealing damage to them outside of their initiation range, you're winning. So it's a lot of Nidalee because she has such absurd ranges on her stuff. And speed when you start going towards it.
Ranges, damage, and speed. The champs are locked in and loading. So let's take a look at the voting from LOLesports.com. 68% of you are tipping this one in favor of Curse.
Yeah, Curse wants to be forever fourth.
Yeah.
They can do it.
It's kind of crazy that it could happen again.
Yeah. This acquisition of Bunny FuFuu has worked out very well for them.
It did. Sometimes fresh blood is definitely what you need. When it's not something that is expected, though, as EG found out, it kind of puts turmoil in the team. And I think it was Doublelift kind of saying in a feature we have that, you know, once that happens, it's hard for a team to really figure out where the place was because you have to repair what happened during that lost time.
So, especially for Evil Geniuses, you know, they weren't having the best of seasons when they had to lose. 3 of their starters for 2 weeks over for visa issues. And the adjustment time back and forth is just so punishing for a team because they have a synergy that is starting to be developed, and then you break it just for a few weeks, and then you try to go back, and you're never at the same point. You're always kind of starting from scratch again and again, and that's happened 3 times now for Evil Geniuses this year.
Well, we'll see what these teams have for each other as they do get onto the Rift now. We're into our next game. It's going to be a big one. We got Curse versus Evil Geniuses as Curse is trying to solidify that 4th place. You can see the herd is in place. They're going to be helping out, giving some supports to the cheers to the supports. What do these 2 teams have for each other? Level 1, Innox heading towards the bottom lane. Let me get the 2v1 swap, but they may equal it out if they decide. He's going to be hugged by Yellowpete, so nothing crazy yet, just a late invade it looks like.
Yeah, EG starts with the Relic Shield on Krepo and the extra ward, whereas Bunny FuFuu started with the ward as well. He's already placed it. These guys trying to see if anything fancy is up. At this point, the standard level 1 is the lane swap so far in this Super League. So that's where teams are stacking up, and neither team is really trying to take advantage of that fact. They're both just opting into the standard. Although, if a team would have ran, if EG, for instance, would have ran all the way up into that top lane brush, they would be able to catch Curse as they tried to walk through, but that is not the way things have been done.
Innox with the crystal start for himself in the top lane. We'll have to see actually if it's going to be Curse on the red side. If they decide to go to Dragon, if this 2v1 does play out, if they actually were watching that CLG game and not warming themselves up, getting ready for it. CLG got both top turrets and then pushed over to Dragon, and they were able to take that for themselves. After a while, it was just really the map control it gave. Dragon didn't go down for the next few minutes after that, but the game being controlled after the 2v1 was different. We'll have to see if Curse will be able to do that against Evil Geniuses. The invades begin, and so does the game.
Evil Genius is doing something a little interesting, actually. You can see Snoopeh is at his own red buff, but Krepo and Yellowpete were actually just trying to stop the blue, and then they didn't take it themselves. So I imagine that'll just tell them where the start is, and Snoopeh will be able to go up and take that blue buff himself.
They definitely still put priority on Cops level 2. Bunny FuFuu is going to help Quas get a little bit of movement through the jungle on that white, since he does do quite a bit of damage early.
It's just the ordering of the jungle starts is backwards here. Dominate decided to start in the enemy buff and then go to his safe one, whereas Snoopeh has done the opposite. Will not make much of an impact in the long run, though.
Quas teleports actually to his 2nd tier in the bottom lane to get himself in to stop
He's going to try and harass Snoopeh here. Snoopeh doesn't necessarily have smite up right now, so he's got to wait a little while. And he's actually going to require support help to safely secure this one.
Yeah, Quas is already starting to back off, but the team gets a ping on it. They're letting Krepo know where he is and if they want to put more pressure onto it. A good push in the bottom lane by Yellowpete. We get the teleport there from Innox as we do have Dominate approaching top lane.
This means it's a 4-man push, not the 3-man push. Quas has already burned his teleport, so EG has the potential to push this much faster.
This was that 4-man push you were talking about in the Challenger series where they went all the way to the inhibitor turret. Not being on the top lane is going to give them that speed and damage on the turret. Good pressure from Pobelter in the mid lane, so Voyboy really has nowhere to go either. He's pushed up against the turret. EG making some good moves here. Turret way faster than the top.
4 level 2s pushing that lane. If Curse does not respond to this, it could actually end up in an inhibitor turret for EG. So Curse has got to make up their mind what they want to do here. They might just have to take the 1 turret defeat and cut their losses once they get that turret, get back to base. But we'll see what they decide to do, whether it's continue pushing or go back to base.
Quas's teleport to that 2nd tier turret's going to slow him down getting to that position. He does have to back all the way, and it looks like this turret's about down to half HP as they're getting good damage on it. Still 4 of them whacking away. Nothing's going to happen, and no rotation from Curse because it can't.
I mean, I really feel like unless Curse sends a 2nd defender, EG could continue this push, but they actually are waiting for the minions, slowing this push down just a little bit. They want to get a big minion stack if they're going to take their run at the inhibitor turret. Curse pushing pretty quick.
Top lane gets a siege, going to stop him for a little bit, but bottom lane is going to have that siege coming up. If EG doesn't get it on this wave, it will be the next one easily up to that inhibitor turret as well. Mid lane, like we was just talking about, a little bit of the CS there to make sure we know what's going on in the island, since top and bottom are the focus right now.
Yeah, EG decides not to push quickly despite having 4 people in the lane. And it ends up being an even trade. Now it's just all about the counter rotations from Curse. I feel like EG didn't take as big an advantage of that 4-man stack as they could have. Even so, they end up just trading. Standard start.
Pobelter has to be pretty careful in that situation. Get himself out. Doesn't have too many wards to keep himself safe, but they do have to worry about now Cop in the top lane. He's kind of just been going on by himself. Has not backed yet. Looks like he may do that for himself to finally get a buy on. 28 to 27. Everybody comes out of that actually pretty equal, and there's no move for the Dragon this time.
Yeah, they're rather low. Both these teams actually put a very high importance on early game Dragons. Snoopeh, though,
Flash for flash.
had to be done. Right there. That's going to harm Snoopeh's ability to gank especially. The flash gank from Pantheon is one of his best assets, and Pobelter continues to harass down Voyboy.
He just stood there seeing that Voyboy has no mana. He's being a bully.
Something really key is even though blue buffs have been taken by both sides, neither of the blue buff camps have been cleared. Which means this Nidalee Lulu matchup, 2 of the most blue reliant mid laners, are going to be substantially delayed on their access to blue buff. Dominate just cleared his blue. That means it'll be up at around 11 minutes, and EG is still not cleared their small golems.
Gonna be rough. Snoopeh's been spending a lot of time in the other half of the jungle, so he's really had nothing to get over there and tell him that that needs to be cleared. 6 minutes in, Innox returns to the top lane. His teleport is down right now, so he's going to be just staying up there trying to farm it out. Dragon may have to be the long walk for these top laners. Not for Quas, though, actually.
Check out the little guy.
Finally, got it down.
11:30.
Yeah.
That's when that blue's going to be up again.
We'll see if that affects any of the siege pressure that could happen in these lanes. I'm going to say Dominate not back, and just yet the Zenith Blade pulls him out of range for the Cocoon. To safety, but then a little bit of trouble. They're all right in the outcome.
Took a fair bit of damage from that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Lane's still just trying to shove. AD carries matching each other. Cop does get Zenith, though. Oh, there's the slow.
1-2 after the other. Cop has barrier, Cop has flash. One is used to get himself out safely. In the top lane, we're going to see a little bit of pressure onto Quas, or onto Innox, rather. Well, that's Voyboy. God. The Nidalee, not Innox, Voyboy.
Nidalee's being everywhere. Pobelter actually going for a kill. Uh-oh!
Sticky situation for him. He gets himself behind the turret. The Ardent Blaze trying to peel him off, but he can only do auto attack damage after that. Maybe picking himself up a kill, but he could put himself in the death position. Oh, he does put himself in that spot to die. One more shot. The auto attack. No more caster minions. Throwing him out. There's the Dark Binding. Oh, the auto attack.
He miscalculated the damage from the Morgana auto. He did not think that would cause him to have to barrier. Well, at least he still has barrier, but he falls.
Uncalculated, if you will.
That was one of the not calculated moves.
2-2 now in kills, as kind of getting the ones just on the edge. Quas is doing what he can to farm out these minions and stop them from hitting up his turret. Finally turns on to Krepo there to get them off with a bit of damage and harass. He's doing fine in the top lane for 3 resource being put up here by EG, and their mid's being pushed.
Yeah, Quas and Ryze both trying to get the farm on. We've got to take a look at what happened in this top lane, however. Just a big dive onto Voyboy, obliterated him while that action was happening in the mid lane. Nice kill on Nidalee, but the respawn happened. It's Dragon for Curse. Meanwhile, in the top lane.
Meanwhile, in the top lane, Quas is going very hard without enough vision in the brush. Goes ahead and quickly uses Subjugate to get himself out safely with a bit more. Curse takes down Dragon. Very nice there at 8:30 into the game. About a 14-minute Dragon with no knowledge over to EG on that. Well, no, they had a ward in there.
Yeah, they were also completely out of mana in the top lane, which is why that kill wasn't able to wield any benefits for EG.
Nice.
Pobelter with the nice geometry work. All that high school paying off. Still,
wow.
Innox comes back with mana, but Snoopeh still has none, so the lockdown is fleeting.
They're getting a lot of kills here. Finally getting damage on the turret. They can keep their focus on the right thing. Quas is trying to distract while soak up experience. Just letting the rest of the team know what's going down. Snoopeh still not level 6 yet. A little late on the ultimates for him, but now they'll be able to put them into action. Not too much damage from Voyboy either. Doesn't have too much pen, just the Chalice right now.
Yeah, this has definitely been one of EG's better games. They've been able to stay very close in gold in the early game, and when they've been able to do this in the past, they've actually won a lot of games. early on in the season. That's how they got most of their 6 wins. So a very, very promising start.
Right.
Knowing that Innox has his Ryze items ready to go and start stacking up. Of course, Rod of Ages will be the next thing he wants to complete. They have Lulu, 70% win rate in the North American LCS. Often banned in the hands of their best player, I feel like, in Pobelter. But a pause coming in.
A quick mouse issue for Voyboy. We're going to get fixed up. Also, the first back, WizFusion down about 14, or yeah, WizFusion. Yellowpete, just looking at Lucian, is down about 14 CS right now. But he picked up the BF sword first, knowing that obviously the passive auto attack's doing damage. The Zerkri is over to Caitlyn. So if they're to match up in a fight, he's still going to have good damage coming out of those caster abilities instead of just the Zerkri auto attacks.
Exactly. In this type of game, Caitlyn's most likely going for the Bloodthirster Last Whisper build. Very heavy on the long-range poke and lane shoving. Maybe a static shiv if they wanted lane shoving faster, but I think it's more about the extended sieges.
Right.
Also, this should be a very quick pause.
And unfortunately, he went back and bought a BF sword. So now they both have one.
And it's even. Even Steven.
So in this 14.3 to 13.9, not too much of a discrepancy in the gold there. We saw Curse going for a dragon as they were also kind of formulating towards the top lane and trying to keep everybody alive. And that's where EG's had most of their pressure. Still no Pantheon ganks to come in just yet. We've seen Snoopeh hugging a lot of the 2v1 lanes and then just now the 2v lanes themselves to get a turret pushed.
Yeah, and there's that 4-man stack right there. EG really prioritizing turrets. Curse getting pushed around a little bit. Not the greatest wave clear. So that's where their main vulnerability lies. EG trying to take advantage of it.
One shout out to Yellowpete. Completely safe though. I'd be very happy if Krepo had that solar flare right now. Definitely have a bit more safety to be pushing onto these turrets. As well, Snoopeh will be just on the edge of that quasi-global ultimate of the Grand Skyfall. Returning to bottom lane to clear out Voyboy split push. Quas is going to do some work in the top as well. Curse is controlling all the lanes right now.
Here comes the ultimate from Pantheon. Let's see who the Black Shield decides to protect.
And we hear Snoopeh in the background screaming out mid, and it's going to be Cop that goes down first. Very nice teleports into the fight as well. EG is just dropping from the sky everywhere. They come out very big with 2 kills on this.
Real big kills for EG right there. The Pantheon ultimate came down just right. They caught multiple people in the same threat zone. So therefore, the Black Shield was ineffective at protecting Curse. They get 2 kills and a powerful push down this mid lane.
That is going to be a turret going down. EG finally opens up the map a bit for themselves with the 3rd turret, the outer turret I should say, going down. Now the inside wars to be placed. It looks like EG is just going to start trying to take everything they can.
Right here, let's take another quick look at this one. Pantheon goes up, comes back down. But the big thing is Innox already had Cop locked down there. They blew through the Black Shield so quickly that it effectively didn't matter. And then they could just chase down Pobelter. Pixes him to death.
Just when you think you're safe. Lulu comes out of the brush. Turret goes down. Curse answers a little bit back onto that. And now only 200 gold separate these teams. Curse is trying to do exactly what EG just did, and they're going to succeed.
Yeah.
Very nice movement.
I actually feel like EG overcommitted for the blue buff steal there. Because it left their mid turret and their own blue buff.
Yeah.
Vulnerable. Means Curse can just go shot for shot, react perfectly to what EG does, and basically make that Pantheon ult not have that big of an impact overall. Shows you the value of rotations.
Yeah. With that teleport down and the Grand Skyfall, it's definitely a window that Curse has to work with where they don't have to worry about too much. But every time that's up, EG has a chance to get themselves further ahead in this game. Now 100 gold, 4-2 and 4-3 in turrets with Dragon 2 minutes away. Snoopeh would love to drop down on that fight if he could. Just getting everybody to clear the lanes. Nobody looks like they're fighting right now. All the power's off, just pushing.
Yeah. Power's also up, charging away. Quas wants to finish his Blade of the Ruined King. I wonder if he's going to stick with the Bilgewater because it still kind of serves its purpose of sustain and get tankier first. Giant's Belt is incredibly good on Trundle because of his ability to steal tank resistances. That would probably be the smart choice for Curse since they don't have a tank per se, and despite being a poke comp, will probably end up having to teamfight for some of these dragons. Looking around as well, EG really wants that Rod of Ages being completed on Innox, so he can get powerful as soon as possible, really.
Some of the latest ones, not latest, but of late, we've seen them finished around 12 or 13 minutes, so with a 10-minute charge.
True.
around 24, 25 minutes, fully powered up, ready to go. That tier stacking as well. He's going to have a good amount of damage coming on the backside.
Yep. Also
to follow through with these team fights.
His tier is currently at 270 out of 750, so Ryze is mostly on schedule. Athene's Unholy Grail for Pobelter is, I would say, better on Lulu than it is comparably on Nidalee. Just because with the blue buff, help picks means 2 Glitter Lances.
Yeah.
And that is massive. Especially in just breaking black shields at this point, because Bunny FuFuu obviously maxes Dark Binding on Morgana, as everyone does. But Black Shield, even with his ability power, shields 100 magic damage.
Right.
Once they can get 100 magic damage down, all the crowd control of Leona and Ryze and the slows from Lulu and Pantheon all work again. And that's just 1 Glitter Lance tick completely negates it, or 1 Ryze spell. It's very important actually that Innox is powerful so he can get in at the start of fights, blow through a Black Shield, and then enable the rest of their crowd control to hard initiate.
Well, perfect job for somebody that wants to be directly in the middle of the fight, trying to shut down everybody that's getting towards the 80 carry and the rest of the squishies. EG waiting on the edge as both teams testing each other on Baron positioning here. Curse, both, and EG have Innox and Quas ready to teleport from the top side.
Nidalee spears are critical right now as well. If EG gets hit by a couple, they would have to give up dragon positioning, but if they continue to dodge them, the sheer force of their team fight ability would grant them a dragon. So far so good. Haven't got hit by a spear yet.
Oh, great bushwhacks going down as well. Krepo stepping on one kind of causes them to totally reposition there. They don't like the vision that was given away. But they still will not let this dragon go. Very good positioning by EG. Pushes out Curse, and they're going to start it.
Blocked all the spears, or dodged all the spears, got the war control, and it means they can just secure this down. And the teleport actually comes in. If they can get an initiation, this could be great for EG.
Innox looks to go over to Voyboy. The shield goes on, and he can't lock anybody down with Room Prison. They're forced to go for Quas. That means it's free roam coming out here. Innox still trying to machine gun out the DPS. Krepo's on the backside. EG has taken a lot of damage here and now able to reassess the fight. But Curse was already on the backside doing that from the beginning. Voyboy now to move in. He has Javelin health bars in his eyes, and it looks like Innox is going to put down the rune. He throws it out, and Innox goes for the sidestep.
EG committed heavily in that fight for Bunny FuFuu, and it almost cost them, but then with everyone at a sliver, you could see Curse's poke comp. They tried to play it like a dive comp, and it backfired. Voyboy cannot dive in those situations anymore. That's 2 deaths on Nidalee. Too many more than he needs.
Still Cop trying to get an advantage out of this. They lost 2 over to that 1 of Pobelter, and we'll just see how this fight came about.
It split up entirely. So one thing was the Pantheon ult, which zoned Curse back, but then also Bunny FuFuu's ultimate ult Morgana was really good at keeping the fight isolated. They did get on Bunny FuFuu, but because he could flash away with the sliver, the rest of EG kind of had to run away from them. And they also split up right there. Some in the Dragon Pit, some elsewhere, which is why Curse felt so confident. But as you can see here, Voyboy was all alone trying to chase 2, maybe 3 people of EG, and then using his flash to get in. With all the crowd control potential of EG, he just ends up getting locked down. A beautiful spear dodge by Innox at the end.
You always rock perpendicular to the flying skill shot. You will dodge it. So good buys coming out on both sides with a little bit of gold influx there. The Sheen instantly coming out for Pobelter.
Yeah, once that Lich Bane, even though it's nerfed, still going to take that diminished ratio and use it to auto-attack people down.
Put all the pain in the AAs. See, 6-3, 7.5 or 17.5. We're going to add a 1 to that. Minutes into the game, Curse, again, using organized moves to get what they want. And now they're pinching EG in here. Dominate on the other side. They do have vision of this. Krepo gets the Zenith Blade over the pillar, trying to close the distance to safety. And he is going to nicely get out of that with Yellowpete. A little scary.
He's got their dancing shoes on. These skill shots are not landing onto them. Krepo with a very sneaky retreat. Not even having flash and getting out of that one is just awesome.
Krepo dove for that one. He said, I got it.
Yeah.
Good steal out, or not steal out, good smite out. Snoopeh keeping everything to himself and the experience to EG on their side of the jungle. But Curse looks to get some forward wards in and also take down these turrets. They're going to be on the 2nd tier. This will be one of the last. Grand Skyfall missing out quite good on that one. Pobelter tries to get the Glitter Lance down. They're busting through the Black Shield with the AD. Not going to help you much there. Pobelter picking up a kill.
Yeah, nice Pantheon ult by Snoopeh there. His Pantheon ultimates have actually been incredibly strong this game. They are forcing Curse either into fights they don't want or splitting them up, and EG is able to get the kills afterwards.
Fancy work there. Still using that combination even without the Ryze teleport. They're able to just get Innox quite safely to the fight. It looks like with Quas pushing in the bottom side, Curse could get themselves, or EG rather, get themselves an advantage in mid.
Yeah, this wasn't even from very far away, but it still did the job of getting him in and splitting up Curse. And then, obviously, everyone could just chase down Bunny FuFuu because they were split up because of that Pantheon ult. If Bunny FuFuu would have went through the Pantheon ult, he would have died. If he goes the other way, he gets chased down.
Take stock of what's happening in some inventories. Mid lane 153 to 119. Somewhat to be expected. You see Voyboy cleaning up camps as Voyboy was glitter lancing and bullying in lane all day long. 119 to 132 is Cop. We've seen him and Quas doing a lot of side farming. Still doing that in the top lane for himself. Curse in good position, but so is EG here.
Yeah, 4 turrets to 4 means this game is still quite close.
Yeah.
Unlike a lot of the EG games, they have the 2,000 gold advantage instead of the 2,000 or 3,000 gold disadvantage that they would normally hold at this point. It also means EG has a tendency of just really forcing teamfights at this point in the game. Because it works when they're ahead. It just doesn't work when they're behind. Since they are ahead now, this is actually a very great situation for EG to be in.
About 250 stacks off the Seraph's Embrace. About 3 more minutes for a fully charged Rod of Ages.
Yeah.
Innox still getting to that point. Got level 11s coming out now. A little more power from ultimates. Nice catch by Pobelter.
They're starting to hurt.
Yeah.
Which is a danger EG absolutely has to keep track of. Also thinking about Curse and their heavily poke-focused composition. I still wonder what I talked about yesterday during the Curse pregame, which was how Curse goes really far in one direction for team compositions. They'll either go super hard initiate, like a Vi Yasuo, and just, they pick one target, and they're going to get to that target. They do not care what you do against it. Or they go like super push heavy. When they did early on in the year against COG, they did a Jinx, Nunu, Janna composition.
Right.
And just shoved down turrets super fast. Or this poke composition, which is just all about poke with very limited teamfight potential. And I feel like they're actually not that great at poke, because their true specialty is live and diving, and when they make compositions like this, they become, you know, a jack of all trades but master of none, which leaves them vulnerable to teams like EG here. Still a nice binding though, stun chain.
You can see they're all a little hesitant to go straight into the fight. Bunny FuFuu still trying to retreat out. Snoopeh comes in with a grand Skyfall, right on Dominate, but it's not enough damage to take him down. He gets the heal coming out of Voyboy. Innox now with the rest of the team as they put out some good damage. It's going to be very nice plays there. 2 down on Curse's side, only for the 1 of Krepo.
Goes to show you how powerful EG is in these team fights. With poke landing, though, it becomes a little bit dangerous. Dragon is secured, however.
There's a nice little 1-2 coming from the Dark Binding Javelin. But EG is not scared off the Dragon. They do that 4 strong. You can see Krepo coming out of the base, face of the mountain finished off with his Sight Stone. Looks like he's going to get that charged up one more time. A little more HP for himself. So see how this went down.
Check out Innox in this fight, because I feel like that's where a lot of the damage came from. Krepo just gets obliterated right off the bat. His ultimate just slows down Bunny FuFuu, but then when Innox arrives, he lands so much AoE damage with those bounces. Actually ends up bouncing around and finishing him off, and it just continues after that, really blowing up 2 members of Curse and making them do a full retreat, despite the start of that really being a 4v5.
There's a great choice by him, too, on entrance of the fight. He came behind Red Buff instead of the ward that was directly in the fight, as to not alert Curse to his presence. So very nice job giving EG the quick edge as they rock around. Now 35,000 to 32. Really great siege clear is going to be coming in here for EG, so they're not too worried once they get to the turrets, and especially if they get the catch they want. We see what happens to Curse. They don't have the disengage they want. Just kind of pushing down mid lane, looking to soak up the rest of that experience. 2 kills, most on to Bunny FuFuu right now for Curse. Not helping too much.
You see Krepo's getting rather tanky himself. He eats a spear there, but because his Eclipse shield was up, he didn't take very much damage whatsoever. Snoopeh's really waiting on his Pantheon ultimate, and Curse continually comes back to this mid lane, trying to set up sieges, but there have been multiple team fights initiated on them in this point. It's kind of do or die for Curse, though. If they can't siege up as 5 with a poke comp, they cannot succeed. But since they're not landing poke and getting EG low before they set up, they're even more vulnerable to the initiations. Snoopeh's ultimate will be up soon.
A little bit hitting on Innox. Not doing too much damage. Voyboy with the blue buff. That's going to be very big for them in this fight. He can keep throwing out the spears and keep the distance on. We see actually Cop's build going for the static shiv. So if the poke comp does need to stay mid, they can get pushed wherever they want.
He's a little far ahead this time. Let's see if they can make it.
Skyfall's gonna land. All they have is Quas. Subjugate goes down, but Wild Growth onto him will pop him up. He denies vision, gets on the other side of the wall. What is EG's next focus? Curse with some pretty good disengage this time, but is it gonna be enough? Daybreak hits Voyboy as he goes for the leap. It's gonna be the lockdown once again, and the EG follow-up is good enough.
The chase is sufficient for EG right there. Curse could not disengage enough because the Lulu and all the rest of them are relentless. Tons of move speed coming out for EG. Another successful initiation.
EG putting the pressure onto Curse, who is looking for that 4th place. Really having that tick on their mind during this game, but initiations like this are making it tough.
This is how confident EG is. They actually initiate onto the tank, and Snoopeh eats a bunch, but because they drew attention, Innox was so fast on Ryze that he is the one that got locked down. Pobelter finished him off, and then a flash stun onto Voyboy. As fast as Nidalee can be, EG is faster.
I like that. Snoopeh ate up the trap, but also got his stun off as you went for the cast of his ability.
Nice move.
Working out well, whether it happened or not. Gets out the kills with his team, and they now take a 6,000 gold lead over Curse in this game. 5 turrets to 4. EG looks now to continue getting those forward wards out. They've got one down the mid lane, and they've got it now on both sides of mid, which are going to help, especially when Curse wants to be taking these fights.
Man. That was a desperation Baron play by Curse. They kind of need to steal a Baron or win a crazy fight to come back into this one. It's just the danger of running this long-range poke comp with low teamfight potential. You don't get to force objectives like that. Therefore, they have to immediately retreat as soon as EG gets near.
As soon as Snoopeh got that ultimate, EG definitely started to take control of this game. Really well-organized fights. Innox now getting to that full power Saracen Brace finish. The Glacial Shroud begins. He's going to be even more of a problem, but more of Quas to get some stats off of as well.
Yeah, Quas could theoretically help Innox go down, but just with the current state of the game and how Quas is somewhat starved of gold because they're so paranoid of getting initiated on it. The pillar is absolutely required by Quas to help disengage. He is just trapped between a rock and a hard place right now. He has no realistic way of getting quality farm without his team dying.
Snoopeh cleaning up all the traps. We've seen him and Krepo soaking up the bushwhacks and the Caitlyn Yordle traps. Yellowpete, be very careful here. He does have Snoopeh on the side. This could be dangerous. Ace in the hole and a lot to follow up on that. Could definitely mean a quick dead AD carry out of nowhere. 1 minute on Dragon. EG is kind of posturing here in the mid lane so they can rotate easily for that or make sure Baron is safe.
Yeah, I wonder how long until EG tries to go for the Baron. It's a bit of a process here to at least grant enough ward control inside the red jungle of Curse. They need to make sure the side lanes are all shoving first and then going for it. But right now they're pretty content just continuing to do what they've been doing. The no dragon is up in 30 seconds. Once EG is able to get the dragon control, they're most likely going to be able to go in and get more ward control and eventually a Baron attempt.
Well, this would be Innox now to hug towards the bottom lane. He's going to meet up with Cop. That can start to be what EG needs to really gain control, start to spread Curse a little bit more thin. Usually Curse has the upper hand in the game at this point, and they're the ones kind of with the chance to lose. Right now, they're trying to get the win back in their hands. A very nice gold lead by EG is being controlled better than we've really seen them play it out before. Their mind's set on this Super Week, and they know what it means for last place.
Curse again trying to force. They do kill it rather quickly, but if they do get engaged on it, would be a disaster. Pantheon's coming in the retreat path of Curse as well. Great placement.
They are all walking into it. Snoopeh actually takes a few more steps to get on the safety side of his team, but they take him down. Quas is the first to get hit up on this one. They do have some good escape here, but they're going to be chasing out Voyboy. Krepo hooks a fast right and tries to cut off any type of escape path. The heal comes out, and he may save himself, but they get the glitter lance on again. Dominate now with the black shield. They're just going to walk side by side on the beach for this one. He gets himself over to the golems, now flashes over the wall to safety, but Curse is running scared.
They get 2 for the cost of 1 right there. Snoopeh does get shut down, however, so that is not a disastrous force there by Curse. They had the positional jump on EG, and even though Snoopeh's ultimate was placed very well, the follow-up from the team was greatly delayed. That was almost extremely clever by Curse, because they knew the timing of the dragon, and they knew how EG was going to be there. So if EG wouldn't have ran so quickly, that could have actually been a Baron take for Curse. They almost caught EG in a pattern.
And you see the timer is still quite short in this game. No thought about Baron even after wiping the team. They go for Dragon, sure gold, and sure control of the game still. They're not going to put themselves in a scary spot. Already have the lead, and that's what they are trying to work to the nexus of Curse. Like we said, Curse looking to grab 4th here. Really wanting this win.
Yeah, but EG, how much would it mean to them if they win this game going into their XGG game at the end? Breaking their losing streak against arguably a stronger opponent they will face at the end of the day would be monsters for them. Pobelter on Lulu is starting to take over. 256 farm, 4-2-6.
There's a reason that was first pick, quick pick for Pobelter. Locking that one in, and then they focused on that bottom lane for EG, something that also struggled a little bit. Made sure champions select prioritize where the weak, not the weak links might be, but where the problems have occurred throughout this season. Every lane has actually done their part in the wins for Evil Geniuses. Right now, everybody's doing their part, and you can see how much of a more controlled game it is.
They play very well with the lead. We've known this for a while. It's just they haven't been able to get leads for themselves, which is why the team's current patterns of all lane swapping at the start of the game really benefit EG.
Yeah. Still, I believe, different ways to handle that 2v1. We saw CLG doing it a different way last time. EG kind of just went with the flow and made sure they controlled warding, vision, and made sure that the mid lanes couldn't do much. Pobelter had good control and still does. 262 to 197 on Voyboy. It's been a large part of the game. We see Voyboy really trying to be a leading player when Curse has those leads in the game.
Yeah, but not this game. They do not have the lead in this game, which is the painful thing for Curse here. The 0-4-3 Nidalee having very little impact in this game. Those spears not finding true targets. CG doing a very good job of avoiding them all. And now we're at that point where they are getting vision control around the Baron and might look to set up more. Look for them to get a few more rotations on their sweepers, and then eventually maybe even just catch Curse trying to check rather than force it. Because they know how well Dominate steals Baron.
And is this what almost has to happen? Because how hard is it going to be for them to push into an inhibitor turret with the poke comp?
Not extremely hard, actually, but now they're trying to catch Curse checking as they see a ward and some people.
Yellowpete throws himself right into the fire. He knows he's on the good side. What a side strafe there to get the culling over the wall. It's going to be another one going down. Cop is dead. They now have eyes focused on Voyboy. He cannot leap to safety. Locked down and taken down. 3 kills. Pobelter's going for Dominate. He gets cocooned, but it's not going to be enough. He doesn't even need to shield himself as he whimsies back to life and back to Baron. Quas going to do what he can, but they're only really going to get some CS out of this in the lane pushed for the final hit.
Just a disastrous attempt of checking Baron vision right there for Curse. EG with their initiation, a great flank amongst all this. Watch Quas flash in and steal with a Q. Is he even going to try for it?
The 1 true damage of Pillar. Do it. That's going to be a lot. Oh, they want him right off the bat. He cannot get close enough. Actually uses flash and everything to get out. Teleports down as he was getting back into the game with that one. So we'll see Baron now going over to EG. They definitely played it right. They waited their time. They got the vision.
And the surrender.
They got the surrender out of Curse. 32 minutes into the game. Evil Genius is putting up a great fight for the win.
Interestingly enough, this is only the 2nd game all year where a team wins without an inhibitor falling. The other one was an EG loss to TSM, so a very decisive victory there by EG, controlling the vision, showing vast superiority in teamfight comps. This the start of something good maybe for Evil Geniuses. They need to carry this momentum through to the final game of the day.
You know, I asked you how much they were going to be able to gap close, and they waited. They waited very patiently until Snoopeh finally got that ultimate, and then it was just one after the other. Snoopeh and Innox teleporting in to make the fight a little bit worse than first thought it was.
Just really good champion select for Evil Geniuses there. Innox's Ryze was incredibly potent. I don't know if the team composition could have worked without Lulu, because it really gave them that extra speed to make it into the team fights and shut down the poke comp. But that is kind of like the EG we saw in the promotion tournament that had everyone so hyped for playing against them. Like it's a strange transition when EG comes into this, because they had looked so bad, to be completely blunt about it. But
even the sister
they turned it around, especially against a Curse team who was looking really good yesterday. Goes to show you the difference that can happen between day to day with players that are as experienced as Evil Geniuses, turning it on when it matters most.
Yeah, if it did seem that the 3 out for visas took a little bit, but that was what we were talking about before the game, getting it back together. They found that spot, and it was played amazingly. I don't know how many times Snoopeh had more than 3 people in his ult. It was a good amount of times. In the last ult we're actually going to bring up, we saw them trying to check Baron. We'll hit this replay again, was just so good coming in.
Well, you could see that Curse was trying to take the safe route towards the Baron to get the ward, but they were just out of sorts. Curse tried to collapse onto Snoopeh because he looked a little overextended, but they ran past their minion line, which meant, hello, there's a Ryze behind you, and absolutely no escape. They can't run to the left because Pobelter, they can't run to the right because Innox. Solo lane control from EG, and the initiation once again by Snoopeh and the bottom lane. It really was a team effort, and that prompted the surrender, because at that point for Curse, all options were against them. They were in a corner, could not do anything, and that means playoff bracket, Curse and Dignitas locked in.
Indeed, set in stone. Check out this playoff bracket. So much has happened this season, but to now see a lot of people, what was the percentage? That's 80%, I believe, coming in for Curse to take this game and be solidified in 4th, but not the case.
Dignitas gets the 4 seed, meaning they will have side choice in that best of 3, and then go on to face Cloud9. So a tough road ahead for both those guys, but now at least they're locked in.
Absolutely. To see EG play like this, we saw in the beginning of the day, even if it's not changing too much of a position, the momentum they have coming into these games, knowing that they're strong currently with what's happening, it's going to be a big part of how their mentality hits and start the ground as they go running.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going to work for their game against XTG, because I'm really reminded by thinking all the way back to the promotion tournament. Going into it, they had almost no confidence, right? They were losing most of their scrims badly. They were losing to a lot of the challenger teams when they first started. And then, like, a day before the promotion tournament, something clicked and they started playing amazingly. They dominated their 3-0 in the promotion tournament to make it into the LCS. And again, since they've been on this long losing streak with all the travel, they might be feeling that again, and a similar turnaround could be in the works.
All right, well, remember to share your favorite moments from today by tweeting us at LOL Esports and use the hashtag LCS Big Plays. Right now, we're going to send it over to Freak and Kobe for a first-hand account of EG's big victory.
Thank you very much, Riv. What's up, guys? We're joined by Krepo and Snoopeh, of course, of Evil Geniuses. Come into that game, of course, a difficult match on paper for you guys. Curse having a better season so far. What was your confidence like coming in?
I've always considered us having a decent fighting chance against like Dignitas and Curse. I really still feel that there's a big gap between top 3 and bottom 5 in NA. Yeah, just recently, like we were really close, but every weekend we kept losing, and the gap kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We had confidence we could win. Not an insane amount of pressure either, because the match that will matter is only the match against XG. Regardless of what we do here, we need to win against XG to like solidify that 7th place.
Yeah.
This game did show one big thing that I think you guys have improved on a lot. It looks like you had a much better communication, especially using something like Pantheon ult, which timing is everything with that. Have you guys done anything specifically to work on that, or did you just finally everything fall into place?
Honestly, no. Like the last few weeks for us have just been a bit crazy. With having to use subs, go home and get visas sorted, it's just been a little bit crazy. Communication is definitely one of our weakest points right now. You'll notice in our rotations, like we might win the early game, but our rotations are really not on point, and that's a lot of it down to communication.
And I know actually throughout your season, you guys have actually had a large number of like, you almost won losses, like a significantly high number of like almost wins. Does that do anything to you guys when you're like, we can almost beat all these top teams?
No, I would say that it's like it doesn't matter if you don't win. It really doesn't matter. Because like for the middle of the season, we're having close games against TSM, against CLG, but it really didn't matter because come the end of the season, the results aren't there. It shows in how many losses we have to wins, and we really need to pick up. Most importantly, the game against XDG tomorrow. That's the most important one for or today. Sorry,
yeah, sure.
later today is the most important one now, and it's kind of sad really, considering how close our games were with the top teams.
Yeah.
That we're now fighting for last spot essentially, which is it blows a little bit.
Sure.
All
You
right,
open
well,
your mouth. I figured.
I want to get to this dragon fight.
Okay.
We're talking about their next game already, but let's go back to this game and bring up this dragon fight that you guys do have. Walk us through this one, guys.
I actually don't quite remember what happened. So we're doing a Drake, I imagine. We're bursting it because they don't get in time. I heroically take that bind to prevent it from stealing Drake. And that's just when you like assess the situation, what's going to happen. Pobelter, I think he goes out a little too far, but then we answer with the Pantheon ult, and now it's just up to calling targets. I know we've been calling left side, people are calling Trundle. I'm going on a Morg. And it's basically, at this point, it's almost reactive. Like, we try to get the Morg down and then just dodge as many skill shots as we can. And right now, yeah, we got to get out. So we just try and survive, and I think we get a little lucky. I think I'm about to flash a spear here that ends up hitting Innox, and we get really low. And we're considering a turn.
The turn is the biggest part.
Yeah, we're considering a turn here, but then we decide like no, like it's too unsafe. But then he flashes in, and we're like, okay, well, let's take a freebie.
It wasn't really a freebie. Innox was very close to
work for that
one. But yeah, I think the Nidalee kill that wasn't as important at that point, even if he kills us or we kill him. I think it's really good that we actually got that Drake. We got the Drake control. We rushed it when we noticed they couldn't come in. Got a little iffy towards the end, but at least we were somewhat in control of this game.
Yeah.
But somewhat sloppy still in a lot of areas, so we got to make sure that's perfect for XCG later.
I think the biggest thing coming into this game is that we picked the Ryze top kind of blind, essentially. Well, it was blind, basically. We just kind of figured that we'd get the Ryze against any top laner that Quas was going to pick. Once we took out the Renekton, we were comfortable with him playing against Shyvana or Trundle. So we had the really good matchup between the Trundle and Ryze, and even though they never really laned, we got the Ryze powering up, which meant it could always split against Trundle later in the game if we had to. And then the biggest factor was our initiations. They have a Nidalee poke comp with a disengage from Morgana bindings and then also the Trundle pillar. And we really had to get on-point initiations. When the Pantheon drops were like really, really good, we got on their backline, followed up by Leona. And the Lulu ulti saves like on more than one occasion when Lulu comes in. And I'm expecting that. I'm always calling in the team fight. Like I jump in really, really deep. Like deeper than I maybe should. And I'm always calling, where's Lulu ulti, where's Lulu ulti?
Yeah, one of the things I was really surprised about is Curse have Caitlyn traps, they have bindings, they have spears, all these things that they can line up at your point of impact as Pantheon. It's so scary to do those deep jumps. But since you had this very scary Ryze right behind you, it kind of always seemed like Curse were on the panic mode, and they didn't try and set up any of those things when you landed, and you guys got to go full offensive.
Yeah.
We actually have a clip of one of these really good Pantheon ults that you do super deep. Let's bring this one up on the screen.
Oh yeah, this is the one in mid. We're actually waiting on my ulti coming off cooldown. I don't have it quite yet, and I'm looking for an opportunity to engage. And I need to wait for them to come so far out. We don't have vision of them, but now I just go. I don't even have vision, I just go for it. And the problem is they all get out of my range. The only option I have is Trundle, so I go on Trundle. You'll notice the burst that comes down on me now, and that's the Lulu ulti comes. I still almost die even with the Lulu ulti on me. And then we basically clean up. We chase, we're calling for cop. And I think Trundle dies to ignite or something. Yep, it dies to ignite. Now look for the follow-up on Voyboy here. Krepo flash stuns, Innox snares, and then I flash stun to follow up as well. And then we got a good pickup on Voyboy, and really came out on top there.
The biggest thing about this composition that the engage, it comes in waves. So either I go in first and Pantheon follows up, or most of the cases, because as you highlighted, they have Trundle pillar and this wall of traps and like mobility and binds and Black Shield to get out. But Pantheon can literally just bypass that. He just jumps up in the air, lands somewhere, and then they can't really stand still to fight him because the second wave of engage is coming in, as in like Leona. Then you have the Lulu knockup, which is CC, and then so you pile on CC one after the other, and they were too far behind, and their poke wasn't as hurting as it should be to actually stop that. So in the end, once we get a lead, we can pretty much steamroll their composition.
Yeah, you saw them actually at one point try and force Baron, which they really at that point should never have done. But they felt forced into that situation, which is what led to the surrender later on. And I went for a really deep Pantheon ulti. Actually, maybe a little bit too deep. I could have waited about two seconds more or something like that. But I actually wanted to force the fight. But you saw they were getting desperate. Like they couldn't close out the game. They tried to siege. It didn't work because they got engaged on. Then they tried a desperate Nashor play and it didn't work out, and just kind of closed the game out from there.
Yeah, Krepo, I actually want to follow up on one thing that you said about the engages coming in waves. Kind of 2 points. So one is, do you think that's actually a mandatory thing when you fight a poke comp, is to have more than one engage tool? And two, did you know that Curse tends to be running a lot of poke type compositions when you're going through champ select saying, let's get some other guys in here to start fights?
Yeah, we did have, like as a team, we found out that they've been running a lot of these like high range poke composition types, even like the Karma support coming in there. And then yeah, Leona works really well against it, especially if you want to, I mean, if you look at Bunny, FuFuu is really good on Thresh, so if you take that out and you somehow get to Leona, all that's left is this pokish type of play, unless he's going to bring out the Alistar or the Blitzcrank.
Sure.
But probably not, so that helps in that regard, especially if you're playing against Morgana. I feel you need that secondary engage. Maybe Leona is enough and just raw damage to follow up if you don't play against a Morg, but I mean, I need Snoop to bait out the Black Shields, and then I can hopefully land my ulti somewhere.
Yeah.
If not, then it's getting really hard if it's only Leona. So I really like stacking CC against the poke comp is just so efficient because all their members are so squishy and so weak, so you can just take them down one by one.
Okay, so then one last follow-up then. Your game at the end of today, it's tomorrow in Europe to be fair. Yeah. Your game later today against XDG, how do you feel about that team? Where's their strength lie?
Coming up against them, I think Xmithy is going through a little bit of a rough patch right now. I think ManCloud had a few good games lately, like on Ziggs especially had a decent game. But I think him and Xmithy aren't really on the same page at the moment. And I think that's one thing we can look to exploit. I think me and Pob are doing pretty good together right now. And if we can look to exploit the Xmithy and ManCloud duo, then I think we might come out on top.
All right, well, guys, thank you very much for your time. Congrats on your win. Of course, we'll see you later on tonight. Guys, we've got more going on. Don't go AFK. We're back in 3.5 minutes. When we come back, XDG take to the Rift against TSM. The North American LCS continues right after this.
Here, I'm jumping here, here.
Alright.
Okay, going.
Running up.
Targets. Trundle.
I'm on the Kate. Kate's nerd.
Kate.
I got cancelled somehow. I got Trundle.
Nice. Boy.
There's in a second. I got him. He's dead.
There.
I'm stunned.
Boy. Looking. Nice.
Push.
I should base. Here.
Okay, with the ulti.
Got it. I'm gonna base.